Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Power Hour. Good morning, everybody. We're going to we are going to get started in just a minute. Good morning, good morning. Good to see you all. Thanks for jumping in. Let's see, we go here.
Good morning, Ricardo.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Good morning. How are you?
Very fine, thank you.
Good, good, good. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
We're going to get this show on the road right now.
Celebrate Black History. And this morning are giving you an opportunity really to be a leader. If you want your voice to be heard, your opinion to be heard, and we're talking about all throughout Georgia to really make a change, this is what you need to tune into. Here with us are Melvin Coleman and Michelle Glover with the Atlanta Black Chambers. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you
for having us. Okay, so first let's just talk about what is the Black Chamber.
So we're an organization of entrepreneurs based here in Atlanta, but our membership extends or expands across the world, actually, because Atlanta is an international city.
Okay.
So we support and assist entrepreneurs to take their business endeavors to that next level.
Okay.
If you know anything about Atlanta, the entrepreneur population is very significant. In fact, the entrepreneur experience is a big part of the ATL experience. So the demand for what we offer is huge because of the city of Atlanta.
And there really are a lot of people who try to be business owners here in our city, which is really cool. So why is it important for them to get involved?
Well, entrepreneurs, business owners, they need a trusted, reliable source for information, access to resources, exposure for their business, exposure for their brand. And so to be connected to the Atlanta Black Chambers is to be in the know. You don't want to miss on a wonderful program or some resources that have been made available. And so when you are connected to the chamber, you find out consistently all the information that you need.
Fantastic. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Power Hour. We actually will stop it right there because this is a movement and it's not a moment. Thanks for jumping in. My name is Ricardo Berris. I'm the chairman for the Global Opportunities Committee of the Atlanta Black Chamber. And we always say on the Power Hour, the hour shall come, but the power continues. That means by the time we're done with this conversation, you should have some juice, some power to be able to continue your day, but then also take massive action to get the things that you actually want to get done. Today, I've got two wonderful guests, two of, I would say, a sister and a brother from another mother, I suppose, that is here. But they're super experts on the subject, and I do wanted to make sure that you got an opportunity to meet them, to also connect with them. Before I introduce them, though, I do want to do some housekeeping. Please keep your microphones on mute. We will be taking some questions at the end of the session. If you would like to ask a question, you can raise your hand. We'll give you a chance to ask a question, or you can put it in the chat. We'll be using the chat to communicate, so pay attention to what's happening in the chat. We'll be sharing some stuff in the chat for you, how to follow us on social media, how to access the recording. We'll actually post this information on YouTube on our channel, so you'll have the opportunity to actually rewatch it and share it as you like. We're also going to be spotlighting two of our members. So if you are a GOC member and you're actually on the call and you're like, oh, this morning is my morning, I'd love to share about what I do and how I actually make a difference in this world, message me right here in Zoom. Don't message me on WhatsApp or wherever. I'm looking right here in Zoom. Message me here. I'll bring you up on stage. I'll give you a couple of seconds to introduce yourself and to talk about your business. So I'm looking for two of you to actually do that. And so this is one of the things that we do all the time. This week is super special. Last week we also had our Power Hour Mixer. Big shout out to those who came. I think it was a really great, awesome event to meet some people in person. So great to have met a number of you in person, shook your hand and pressed the flesh. It never gets old. We love doing that, and we're super excited about the plans that we have and what's to come. So I'm going to go right into it. I also have a poll. So we're going to drop a poll shortly, and we're going to ask you to check out the poll of the week so that we can get your pulse. So pulse checking in on you, see what your thoughts are. So let's get right into it. Welcome, guys. Sydney and Cos, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. I know we're in two different sides of the world, and so we'd love for you to introduce yourself, and maybe we'll start with Sydney. Please tell us who you are, and talk to us a little bit about this whole idea of cracking the code. I didn't even know there was a code, but let's go on that. Hello, Sydney. It's good to see you.
Hey, good morning, Ricardo. Thank you guys for having me here. Very excited to be here and have this dialogue with you all. As Ricardo mentioned, my name is Sydney Fameni, and I am founder and CEO of Rise Enterprise Group and co-founder of Purposely Rise. So my experience is around retail excellence or retail activation throughout the US, where I worked for a subsidiary of Colgate for about a decade in helping our fastest customers across the US grow and thrive. From there, I had the opportunity to live in a few different places, spent a couple of years in Belgium, was in Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, and South Africa, where I also worked with SMEs and startups to help really with their activation. So I specialize in go-to-market strategies. So helping businesses understand who their customer, their consumer end user is, and really be able to create programs that really help touch their consumer to drive revenue, because you can have a brilliant idea, but if it doesn't solve a problem, if it doesn't speak to a specific audience, you're not sure how to communicate with them, it's very incredibly likely that it won't do well. So that leans into the cracking the code that Ricardo mentioned. So in the purpose of this conversation is around expansion. So the problem that we're looking to solve is you want to expand, but how do you understand who your target market is in this new area that you want to go into? And if you're in South Africa and want to go to Botswana, if you are in Belgium and you want to go to France, if you're in Dubai and want to go to the US, really understanding what is the framework to take what you have today and how do you expand it into your new market through understanding your customer through a go-to-market strategy. So that's my wheelhouse. Looking forward to answering questions and having dialogue with my friends Cos and Ricardo today.
Awesome. Thank you. Wow, you've lived in quite a few spaces. That's pretty awesome. Quick B part. Do you speak multiple languages? Just checking in with that.
I do. I speak English and French, but I'm not workable in French yet.
Okay, all right. So that's pretty awesome. Cos, good to see you. Thanks for jumping in. Tell us who you are and give us your your perspective on this cracking the code business.
Thank you very much, Ricardo, one for inviting me to this session, and good afternoon and good morning, colleagues, depending on where you are. So yes, my name is Cos Mamhuze. Right now I'm between Pretoria and Harare, so South Africa and Zimbabwe. Up until recently, I was with USAID Africa Trade Investment, ATI, based in Johannesburg. But over the years, yes, I've been involved with small, medium enterprise and large firms as well. So basically focusing on enterprise development, focusing on international trade, focusing on economic growth, covering the Southern Africa region largely, and to some extent East Africa, and with the main focus being to enter the United States. So that has been my main focus over the years. So it's been over 20 years working with exporters from the region to the United States and other markets. So when you mentioned let's discuss SMEs, it resonated because I understand that SMEs, they are the world over, they form the heartbeat of the economy. I was reading up on a study by the World Bank, 2023 release, where they mentioned that in most countries, including South Africa, for example, and Africa, most parts of Africa, SMEs form 90% of all the businesses. And MasterCard even indicated that in sub-Saharan Africa, we have over 44 million SMEs. So when we talk SMEs, we're really talking about the economy. When the SME succeeds, moves to another level, it means the whole economy is dragged along, and the results will be felt. 60%, 50 to 60% of the employees in most parts of Africa are by SMEs. So we're really talking about the real thing. Thank you.
Awesome! Wow. So 44 million SMEs. Wow, and that's an interesting perspective, Cos. And you're in South Africa, as you said. So you have some experience around just that SME market. So the question that I want to ask you about. So why you tell us a little bit about why are you qualified to talk about this idea of cracking the code to international markets? And why are we having this conversation now?
Yeah, mind if I lead off?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, so why am I qualified and why are we having this conversation? So as I shared, I have dynamic experience across different locations. I forgot to share it. I'm now based in Richmond, Virginia, which is about 2.5 hours south of Washington, D.C., just to give you a little bit of perspective of where I am. But understanding the retail experience, understanding how large and small retailers work and the marketing pieces, and that getting your product here is a major feat in itself, or in any country, but understanding that is where the work again begins. So being able to say, okay, how do I facilitate relationships, partnerships? What are they looking for in terms of level of investment? I'm here, but what type of margin are my partners looking for? What type of price point attracts a consumer, US or otherwise? What type of interaction does that look like? So really being able to take what you have and say, how does this fit into where I'm going, is something that I have a lot of experience and on the ground experience in. So while I've moved around a lot of different places, what that has done is it's given me insight about how to be a foreigner in a different place, but leverage that experience from the ground up, as we say, like in international development versus a top-down approach. And what that means is kind of my methodology of meeting people where they are, understanding what the challenges are, regardless of my circumstance or my experience of being an American, but saying, okay, cool, I'm in Accra, Ghana. This is the experience. So how do I meet them where they are, and how do I support those businesses based off of the challenges that they face, and looking to see where they go and supporting them in that capacity? So being able to work with SMEs or startups as they start to have those different thought processes and build up systems to help them meet their goals is really what gives me the insight and expertise to be able to have this conversation with you today, because I'm hyper aware of where I stand, where I'm from, but understanding how I interact with people to make sure that they are heard, but also have that experience of how they need to explore different markets, because I've had to do that a lot of times myself. And then Ricardo, what was the other part of that? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's why now. I mean, you know,
Oh, why now?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, why now is why not now. International trade has been going on for centuries, right, in different forms. So now, you know, from ships, people, to now AI, like the technology keeps evolving, but trade is here to stay. That's a matter of fact. And so why am I here today? It's something that Ricardo and Cos and I have definitely talked about and seen through our different levels of experiences, that businesses have these wonderful products or services, these grand ideas, but there's definitely a shortfalling of understanding the market in which they want to enter. So looking at how can we provide guidance and support. Cos is definitely the trade expert. So how do we get you to a place where you need to be to export your products, and then understanding how do we leverage that into the new market that you want to be in? And there's some things that you can do before you even export to really kind of test the market, depending on where you are geographically, if you don't have the resources or funds to export. initially. So being able to have all those types of conversations.
Interesting. So, and I've got some follow up on that, Cos, but I want to come to you and ask you pretty much sort of the same question. I mean, you have engaged with so many SMEs, and the perspective is you've got a lot of SMEs that you've engaged with, particularly on the continent, who have an ambition to export or to go international. Sort of, what's the thing? Why do you think this needs to still happen? Why now? And why do you find people are coming to you to provide them with some guidance on this?
Awesome. Thanks. And thanks, Sydney, for the perspective that you gave. So not very far off from where you are, Sydney. So, but yes, you've had the experience working with small, medium enterprises. You've had successes. You've had failures. You've met with never say die SMEs who fail the first time and then they come back and they bounce, and the next time you see them, they are saying, "Oh, we already listed with this entity." So in South Africa or in the US or other markets. So the experience really includes one, working with firms, doing some export readiness assessments, because a firm might have good products, might have capacity, but still not export ready. So what does that mean? So we walking the path, walking the journey with the firms in terms of until they are export ready, in terms of the product itself, in terms of the meeting market entry requirements, your certifications, also working with them in terms of how do they resource, how do they finance the journey into an export market, because it's not an easy journey, and how do they pivot when things don't go well, don't go according to plan? How do they pivot? How do they change? Right. We have had the opportunity of taking a firm like to New York, for example, and their packaging was it was not there, and they admitted, yes, this time around I'm not ready for this market, which is very good. It's very important. In most cases, we always want to look at the numbers, the figures, how much in terms of exports have you generated, but there are other soft benefits from the exposure that firms get. So just the change in the improvements in terms of packaging, in terms of your labeling, in terms of your pricing, that means a lot. That takes a firm from one level to another level. So yeah, I think that's for me, that's it's been crucial. I've worked with firms that have never exported, and they have started exporting. I've worked with firms that have failed. I mean, that's the reality. Not everyone is meant for the export market. Some would do better servicing the domestic market. That's the conversations that we always want to say and share with SMEs, to say, okay, your product is good, but it's not meant for the US market. It's good for South Africa, it's good for Zambia, it's good for Malawi. Those are the conversations that we have had. And you asked the question, why would they still come to you? It's the networks. There are a lot of I mean, for one to move, it's networks, it's the connections. They play a critical role. I mean, knowing Ricardo, knowing the Atlanta Black Chambers, it's a great network. You know the doors to knock at, and you know whom to approach when there's a need for a specific when there's a challenge. So yeah, it's those kind of issues that would draw exporters to still connect with me. I did not mention in my introduction that I'm running a small business. Yes, I want to call it small as well, but we already reaching markets. North Africa, we already reaching markets. Middle East, we already talking UK and Europe. We already talking the US and Canada. So this is basically the reason of the experience, the networks. It is the networks that drive things. Your question is, why now? Yeah. So yeah, there's a new tariff regime, if I were to put it that way, in the US. And everyone, I mean, small, big firms, they are battling to navigate the new tariff regimes, but still business continues. Even within the turbulent waters, I've come across a scenario where US buyers are looking for alternative sources, alternative source markets. They've been sourcing from elsewhere, but because of the tariffs, now they have to pivot and say, okay, what can we get from Africa? Thank you.
Ricardo, can I say
thank
something?
you, thank you, Cos. Yes, Sydney, you can go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Cos, I think you raised a good point around, businesses looking to export and grow. And I think that is also tied to what are you using to measure like your level of success? So to your point, maybe through exposure of SMEs coming to New York for, I assume it was the fancy food last year. And then having the exposure saying, oh no, like my packaging doesn't make sense, but maybe it makes sense if I'm in Gauteng, but now want to go to KZN. So really saying, okay, maybe exporting abroad isn't the best place where I'm at now, but how can I grow my business where I am? And I think that is still a testament of a level of success. So figuring out what is your path line, what is your path and how you can achieve it. And it's going to look different than someone else's, and being okay with that. Growth is growth. Like it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to be jumping on a ship overseas or on a plane immediately. But if you're expanding within provinces, within your own country, that is also a case study for how you can then grow within a different continent, within a different capacity as well. So just wanted to share that.
Yeah,
So
no,
thanks,
that's great, and I appreciate that perspective. I think a lot of people on the call may not have exported before. We've never done this before. We are actually interested in going global, and so it's like I'm clueless, I'm scared, I'm confused about where to start. And everybody talks about this code, and is it a 911, like is it 000, like what's the code? And we're going to get into that specifically, but I do have a poll though that I wanted to ask, the poll of the week, and I'm going to drop the poll now for you guys, and I would love for you guys to participate, because this is going to help us to then really then understand sort of where are you and what's your current situation. You may be in the US and you're looking to go international, or you may be outside of the US and you're looking to obviously go international. I mean, you've got to understand the perspective wherever you are and wherever you are trying to go. As long as it's outside of your jurisdiction, that's an international, that's internationalization, as we call it, right? And then the other point, as you do the poll, guys, the other point that I wanted to make is you may be here in the US, and you may be able to facilitate someone who is interested in exporting to the US. Facilitating how? Like being a partner, facilitating like being carrying their products if you'd like, because carrying someone products in your retail environment as you are here. So you're not thinking, oh, I want to export today, but you may have a retail outfit, or you may be a consultant, or you may be able to help with labeling, or you're in a specific market more than a lot of folks. That's facilitation and being open-minded and positioning yourself to actually help. It's amazing. We're in Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta, but it's amazing how many cities are actually in the metro and in around Atlanta. And sometimes it takes you an hour to get there, like from here to Lawrenceville, an hour from here to Alpharetta. These are all different kinds of cities, and they're like markets. And so if you live in any of these markets and you're like, man, I can actually help someone to then expose their product or be a partner in this market, because it drives revenue for you, but it also introduces these new products. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, guys. But the poll, we've got 77% of folks who are on the poll now saying that they're in professional services. Only 22% is tangible products. So they we talk about labeling and packaging, and 22%, now 21%. So most of the folks on the call are professional service providers. So as we're looking at what's this code, how do we actually crack it, I would like for you to speak to those professional service providers too, because there is truth in packaging your professional service like you would package a product. There is truth in labeling and designing that professional service like you would a physical product. There is a lot of truth to doing that. And how do you actually distribute that? Yes, you can put your professional service product in a container or on a pallet and wrap it up with film and ship it off. Like, you can't do that, but you could ship it digitally. You could put it in a platform. You could make it available. So I wanted to also speak to that. The other question we ask, if you are outside of the US and you're considering entering the US, are you considering entering the US market? So folks who are outside are saying, no, they're not considering entering the US market, which is an interesting perspective. And folks who are inside the US, 81% of them are considering entering another market. So your Europe market, maybe your Caribbean market. So I want to sort of speak to that. So let's go into this code. Let's break it down now, and maybe we can start with you, Cos. What are some of the ways to actually do this? Let's start breaking this code. Like, what's the first thing that we need to do? What's the second thing that we need to do? What's the third thing? So maybe if we can sort of have that conversation for folks here.
Okay, thanks, Ricardo. So entering a market, even if so, I've come across people who think that Africa is one country, as an example, but you'll be surprised to notice that South Africa is different to Zimbabwe, is different from Malawi, although we're in the same region. So whether you are trying to enter Malawi or you're trying to enter the United States, you are going to be faced with diverse cultures, for example. So it's very important. The first thing that one needs to do is to understand, to have an understanding of the market that one is trying to enter into. So it's very important we normally talk about resources, we normally talk about capacity, we talk about skills, but it's very important to have knowledge. There's always a knowledge gap when trying to enter a different market, the US in this particular case. So it's very important to have that understanding, knowledge about the US market, knowledge about the culture in the US, knowledge about the distribution network, who are the key actors that you're gonna be interacting with. It's very important to have that knowledge about the opportunities. Where are the opportunities? You've got a good service, that offering that you have, you've got a good product, but is it required in the market that you are trying to enter? So for me, I think it's very important to start there. Then with that, backed with that, then you can develop your business plan. Okay, your export strategy, you should be backed by your business plan, which spells out what is your strategy, what are your goals, what are your targets, how do you measure success. Those things, if they need to be documented. If they are not documented, you'll be going all over the show, you'll be shooting in the dark, you don't know how to measure your success. So I think for me, those two steps are very important. Then your stakeholders, who are your key stakeholders? So entering an export market, we should always remember that there are trade promotion agencies. They could be national, they could be international. Leverage on the services, leverage on the resources that they provide, leverage on the activities that they plan to enter the market. For example, they could say, okay, we give you finance or support to do a market survey in the United States. Latch on to that, and then it helps you in terms of resourcing your entry into an export market. So I think those are very, very key to understand.
So knowing the market that you want to get in, so you got to learn the markets, and it's part of why we have GOC, because we expose our members to so many different markets, and it's not the intention is not to confuse you, but to give you information. This is a space for providing information and education, but it's to give you context. If you have a product and you are learning a specific market, maybe that market could be something for you, right? So understanding these markets is very, very important. And you talk about the business plan, and you said stakeholders. Do you mind telling us, like, what do you say stakeholders? Like, who is a stakeholder? Just for clarity.
Right. So your stakeholders would include number one, the the support providers, like your government entities. There could be government entities that are looking to support exports, and they've got plans, they've got some resources that are available. That's very important. It could be your associations, being affiliated to an association that speaks your language, that has got people who have got experience in a particular market, for example. And then you also looking at it could be logistics, service providers that provide logistics, that provide market entry support, registrations in the target market. Those are also critical. I mean, of course, all the way up to your consumer. I mean, the consumer of your service, the consumer of your product. You need to have an understanding of, okay, when my product is placed in a retail shelf space, who is going to consume it? I mean, what's the nature of that consumer? If it's a service, who is going to need that particular type of service? So it's to understand all those that make up the business.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So thanks for breaking that down. So your stakeholders are critical to this this plan that you actually have. Sydney, do you have what are your 1-2 steps in terms of this cracking the code? How do you actually build on that? Cos talks about the market, talk about having that business plan, talk about, you know, identifying those key people that are a part of this process with you. What else are we to think about?
Yeah, no, I think Cos was really spot on with the steps that he provided. I think if I may, I'll go a little bit deeper into that, because I think that, again, people have a product that works well where they are, but might not, even through market research, like, you know, at 1,000 feet up, there's a lot of resources online where you can get a lot of quantitative and qualitative data on a different marketplace. But what typically rings true is there's a lot of different nuances in where you're looking to do business. So I say, yeah, I think that's amazing. That's an amazing place to start. But I think if you're not able to be there physically, then as Cos mentioned, and you also mentioned, finding stakeholders and partners who maybe work in the same industry as you or have point of contacts to say, okay, great, I work in cybersecurity, and here's this association for cybersecurity in, I don't know, in Kenya, and saying, okay, what are the things that have worked well and have not worked well in these regard? Is it a subscription-based service that works well in the US? At what price point? Well, the average Kenyan, if it's a B2B, you know, small business brings in this much money, it's going to be drastically different than what you see in the US. So really being able to say, okay, what does this mean in terms of price point, in terms of customer engagement? How is business really done there versus a macro opportunity? And let's say like 90% of Kenyan businesses are not set up for cybersecurity. Amazing opportunity, but when you break that down into different pieces, who are you really talking about? And so I would say getting gritty into the data, into who you're speaking with, in terms of your target audience and how to approach them and have the conversation are two different things in terms of getting the macro information and really being able to say, okay, this is how we're looking to execute within this space. And that goes for service, products, whatever it is that you're looking to sell. There's so many nuances that maybe we take for granted in our home countries because it's our culture that you wouldn't think of in another location. And so if you're not able to be there and do your own case study, there's groups, there's associations, and there's also businesses like, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of RWAZI, RWAZI, that go into different markets and they get on the ground field research for you to be able to execute your product or service. So there's entities out there, you just have to know who to connect to. And I always say, you don't know what you don't know. So it's a wonderful idea to just ask questions, to connect with people, as Ricardo said, with the GOC, because you don't know what you don't know. So be there, if not, connect with associations or partners who can help you really understand the nuances of what it is that you're trying to achieve before you go and launch and invest all this money and make a big mess. Because even the mega corporations, they make mistakes, like ShopRite, for example, South African based business. When we were living in Nigeria. It was during COVID. It was a crazy time for a lot of different reasons. And ShopRite was growing across Nigeria. And during the time, there was an event that happened. There's xenophobia issues between Nigerians and South Africans, but ShopRite was attacked virtually during COVID. And when that happened, it exposed a lot of issues that were going on with ShopRite and their need to look to support a lot of local SMEs across Nigeria for local produce. But in that, there were issues, and then there was significant inflation in Nigeria, and with the attack, like a lot of different things. But the culmination was that they had to pull out because it wasn't working. So if the largest retailers across Africa can see that there's issues and have to pull out, call it a failure, call it a mistake, it's a lesson learned. And they had to adjust. So keep that in mind, that even the big ones are still learning and are having to make changes, pull out, pivot. So I would say in all of this, it's making sure that you maintain a certain level of curiosity and understanding that what you have that you want to do is really a hypothesis that you are continually testing and looking to understand as you're building your business. And that's regardless if you're exporting to a new country, a new market. We constantly have to stay in this place of understanding what the changes are and how they're going to impact our business.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for that. So being incredibly curious is one of the things that I've always taken away as an entrepreneur. Like, you have to be so incredibly curious and just really ask and also just go. To your point as well, and I'd just like to add a little bit to it if you all don't mind. When you think about yourself as a consultant, as a professional service provider, for example, and you're based wherever you're based, here or there, these problems that you're encountering locally, the big question that you've got to ask yourself is how big is this problem? If you're writing business plans, if you're doing research for people, like, do people have this problem anywhere else? If you can have a handle, like get a grip rather on the problem itself, do you have a good sense of the size of the problem, especially if you're interested in going abroad? How big is this problem in the destination? And where do you get that data from? And so even for you as members on the call and as visitors, you can position yourself to help people answer those questions. Because as you understand, someone who creates a beautiful product, they're looking to enter this market, you know that they need these different things, but being able to identify these needs, position yourself to support these needs, writing business plan, doing market research, facilitating market intelligence studies, all of these different things, having courses and sharing with folks how to do these things. This is very, very interesting. I mean, something as simple as in your city, and this is an idea, and you have to pay me for my ideas, but hey, I'm going to give it to you anyways. Going into your local stores and just take a look at the products that are actually in there. And if you're like, hey, this is a predominantly, this community is predominantly for this geographic, but I don't see these particular products. This is an opportunity. I'd love to probably help someone to get in here, blah, blah. It's just being incredibly curious. So I really love what you've actually shared. Is Kathy still here? Kathy is on the call. Kathy, if you could, we'd love to spotlight Kathy if she could just come on, tell us a little bit about yourself, Kathy, and tell us about your business. I know the business that you're in, but we've got a lot of folks on the call who don't know. So Kathy, welcome. You're being spotlighted as a member. Tell us your name, tell us where you are, and tell us what it is that you do.
Hi. I can't seem to see my, okay. I'm Kathy, and Kathy Westerbeek, based in Cape Town, South Africa. We own a tour operator company, inbound tour operator company. We also have our own fleet and our own tour guides and our own personal drivers for our bigger vehicles. And we have, I've been a tour guide for 20 years now. And I still do tour guiding as well. Even though I run the company, I still do the tours myself because I love it so much. And I love showing my beautiful city, especially Cape Town, and then country to the rest of the world. And yes, if any one of you are interested in visiting South Africa, I'm a proud Cape Townian and a proud South African, and we have the best natural views for you to see when you come here. And that's me. Yeah, and I'm a member of Go Global, very proud member of Go Global since last year.
Awesome, awesome. Kathy, thank you so much. You already have someone who wants to connect with you because they're coming into Cape Town. So this is why we do the spotlighting. But for a business like Kathy's in the professional service, I mean, well, she's in the travel space, travel tourism, and it's like, how do you package something like that? How do you actually export that? I mean, that's not coming here, but she needs those customers from here and from everywhere else who is actually coming in. So my recommendations on those kinds of services, make sure your website is up to par. Make sure your website is that kiosk that speaks for you,
Yes.
that really helps you on a 24/7 basis, especially when you're targeting folks from different time zones, right? South Africa, a lot of the continent is on a different time zone altogether than the continent in the US, etc. Your website is going to be golden to really then to track your services and your value. But then the other thing too that you've got to think about is your audience. Like, who is that? And Cos, you referred to that, the market. If the market is the US, right, as a travel tour guide, and Kathy, I'm just using you as an example, not picking on you, but just want people to actually get that specific case. Using that website now, target that market in the US. So let's say the US is very big. For those of us who live here, we know that it takes us, Sydney's in Virginia. To get to Virginia by car, it's probably going to be like 10 hours drive, right? A whole 20 hours of round trip. So you've got to then specifically identify which areas in the US might be a low-hanging fruit for you. Is it Atlanta? Is it the city of Alpharetta? Like, which of the city? And you want to be able to target that city with your organic outreach, like your organic search engine optimization. Like, if you're doing paid advertisement, if you don't have the money, don't run an ad to target the entire country, because that's going to just blow you up. You need to go specific and go as deep as you particularly can. If you are in the US and you're looking to then get into a market, say it's Germany or it's Europe. Europe is a continent. Don't run an ad to target the entire Europe. You'll never get anywhere like that. But you could get specifics into, and I see your friend Michelle is here in Frankfurt or in that specific area. And a lot of times, guys, you don't need 8 billion people to be successful. Like, there are 8 billion people in the world. A lot of times you just need like 100 clients. A lot of times you probably just need like 500 clients, and you're in heaven. And it's like, so you've got to think about that in a big way to really understand, like, where specifically do you need to focus your effort, right? But go right in, like zoom right in, lasering into that specific city or that specific area. And this is why we're doing this, to really sort of help you to do that. So Kathy, thank you for sharing and to talk to us about your business. So guys, going back to you as the experts, what are some of the challenges that we're dealing with here when it comes to internationalizing your stuff, try to get your stuff either in the US market, or if you're American, trying to get your stuff into other market? What are some of the challenges and the risks that you have experienced and that you have actually dealt with? Maybe we can go, Cos.
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah. So most of the cited challenges, or the challenges that we have the SMEs have experienced to do with capacity, for example. Maybe let me step back, resources. So resources in terms of financing. Extending to external markets, export markets, requires expansion in one way or the other. Maybe your capacity is okay, but you still need to expand in terms of your personnel. They might be need to have someone who specifically focus on the export market. That in itself has been a challenge for SMEs. So it's the resources that are required. You might even require new packaging. You might even require new machinery. All that. It's a challenge that most SMEs do face. And the other part is, I think I referenced it earlier on, is information. Limited information about the export markets. It's a challenge. So that's why sessions such as these. That's why participating in trade events, trade shows. That's why participating in trade trade shows is of paramount importance. And also, what we have noticed is that there's also lack of limited connection between the exporters and their represented diplomatic presence in the United States. We have seen that some haven't connected with their embassies, some haven't connected with their trade attachés, whereas the trade attachés are the resources that are meant to support the exporters back home. But there is no connection, there's no sharing of information, there's no sharing of opportunities. So I think those are some of the challenges. And I think limited capacity to be, I think what I would call agility, agility to pivot, to change. You go into a market, things are not working, but there's certain things that you need to work on, quickly work on. You need to be agile. So there's also need for agility to scale. You get an order and you tell the buyer, I can only do this in 2 years. So that's gone. It's an opportunity that is gone. It's trust that is gone. Also, agility to be able to create both long-term and short-term partnerships. It's very important to be able to, okay, this type of partner can be short-term. Let's work on it. This one is long-term. Let's work on it. So I think those are some of the challenges that SMEs would normally face because they are small, unlike the big guys who can quickly throw in, we've got financial muscle and can throw in resources and quickly hire or even do acquisitions. They can just acquire an existing entity and they run. SME, you have to walk before running. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Cos. And for a professional service provider, this is a really golden opportunity for you because the challenge, you flip it on its head and it becomes an opportunity, right? And so your opportunity to help these small businesses help them build capacity. That's a professional service that you can provide. And I know some of you are experts in that on the call. Help them with the necessary information. There's information everywhere, literally all to your fingertip, they say. It's everywhere. So how do you compress, condense, make sense of it? You can provide that help to these folks as well. And how do you teach people to be agile? How do you teach people how to pivot? Sometimes you may have to offer a course to do that. Maybe some of you are in the education space here, etc. How do you help people who are having challenges with pivoting and switching lanes, so to speak, right? Sydney, what are your thoughts on these challenges and risks that you've actually seen SMEs having with going international?
Yeah, no, I think there's a couple of different ones. The first one is, I think of leveraging customer data, or first even gathering it to understand, okay, if I need to pivot or change, what does that even mean? Like, what is the market? What are my consumers telling me? I find that sometimes businesses aren't really leveraging their CRM data the best way that they can to really understand and make key decisions. And so I would challenge or inspire everyone to know that the data you have is gold. Really, it's yours alone. And, you know, as Ricardo mentioned, or maybe it was Cos, that acquisitions, larger companies acquire these smaller businesses because when you are smaller, you also, yes, you might not have always the resources, but you do have the ability to be a little bit more nimble because it will take a larger business much longer to be able to do the research and create something from scratch. So that is why they buy the smaller businesses, allows them to interact in the market much faster. And so I would say leverage the space that you are in and leverage the information that you have. And if you aren't collecting that, and it doesn't have to be Salesforce initially, like, again, meeting yourself where you are. Maybe it's if you are service-based and it's around like the qualitative, like the conversations that you're having with your B2B as you're launching and you're receiving all the different feedback, the issues, and understanding what type of questions that you need to ask to understand where the opportunity is for you. That is incredibly valuable because that it shapes how you need to move, your price point, who are your who's a key point of contact within this industry. So that really allows you the guys were saying, to streamline your processes instead of spinning your wheels about what is my go-to-market strategy to enter into this space. So again, so a problem that I see is people not understanding how to leverage their data, or they're not necessarily gathering the information in a way that they're able to leverage to make the best financial decisions moving forward. And then another one I would say is around partnerships. And I also think that stems into maybe more so the founder base of like dreaming big or thinking big outside of your capacity based off of you understand what this problem is. But if I could dream big and this could touch anyone, what would be like the most perfect, like utopian solution, right? Like we're never going to reach utopia. I don't think that's the point, but that allows you to, like they say, shoot for the moon and land amongst the stars. So that allows you to start to find solutions that maybe not the moon, but are around this area that you might have not thought of before. So empowering yourself to think differently about the problem, the solutions that you could provide, and not putting yourself in a box based off of where you are today. So I would say that's a big issue, but a big solution where it's almost within yourself to be able to start to think differently and change the context in which you view the possibility of yourself or your business as well. So those would be the two that I see probably the most often.
Yeah, those are fantastic, and to add to that collaboration partnership piece, like from my experience, you cannot do business in another country without a local partner, without having some eyes and ears and boots on the ground to kind of help you out. And how do you get a partner in the first place? Like, bro, just go into the country and go hang out there. You know, a lot of times when I go into space, I'm not a touristic kind of person, but I find something to do. So the cop doesn't go pull me like, what are you walking around here doing nothing? Like, just go there. If you just fly into Panama and go see something. Just fly into Dubai, or just what's the nearest country that you can actually go to? Could you drive over there? Just go drive over there and just be curious. Just go see, like, what's the thing that people do when they're not working? Is it golf? Is it tennis? And you'd be surprised to see that you're starting to connect with people, and you'll never know what people are actually into. And that might be the partner that you'd be looking for. Is like, hey, I've been thinking about doing some business here. What are your thoughts? Blah, blah. And that could lead you into so many different opportunities. Like, you have literally no idea. And so this is good, because as you understand these challenges, this partnership piece, I think that's the golden ticket. The partnership piece is the golden ticket. Knowing someone in market, knowing someone that's out there that says, listen, I'm interested in doing this. I'd love to have your thoughts, but doing this in the flesh, I think this is pretty awesome. I want to do a quick spotlight of another member of GOC, because I think, again, we promise to spotlight every week, and we've got Tina. And one of the things I love about Tina business, because I also know Tina and her business, she can help you to prepare for these kinds of stuff. Tina, welcome. Tell us who you are and tell us what you do real quick.
Yes, thank you, Ricardo. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. I'm actually in a different location this morning, but I'm very happy to be here. You always have to show up for opportunities when they present itself. Be ready, right? So again, I'm Tina Greer of Greer Business Solutions, where we provide coaching and consulting services in the areas of government contracts, training, leadership development, and business operations support. In addition to that, I work with clients in regards to GOC as the technical assistance lead and project management manager, as well as with the Women's League of ABC as the project manager over the educational curriculum for our members. So what I do in a nutshell is I work with small to medium-sized companies in the areas of training and development, facilitate training, workshops, prepare them to be in position to win government contracts. Also do that with digital products as well. So my goal and my continuous goal is to be in that global space, be able to impact businesses, not just in the US, but abroad. And one of the ways that I found that I can do that is to collaborate and partner with others outside of the US via speaking engagements, via workshops, in order to introduce myself, my services, and also fulfill that need that is out there. One of the things also that I've added to my items of offerings is I've just become a certified green business advisor. So I actually will be providing sustainability consultations to small businesses as well. So I am here in the capacity of GOC to help businesses in regards to technical assistance. I put my name out there for anyone that needs help, but then also for advanced help and more other offerings definitely can help you through Greer Business Solutions. So my information is in the chat. Thank you, Ricardo, for this opportunity.
Awesome, fantastic. Thank you, Tina. Really amazing businesswoman who can change your life. You just need to reach out and be in touch with her. And in the US, everybody's thinking green. Everybody wants to live healthier. Everybody wants to live better. Healthcare is expensive out here. If you've got a product and you're planning to come out here, you need to talk to a green consultant who can help you to think about these things sustainably. Any questions from the audience? I would love to, if you have a question, I'd love to have you maybe put it in the chat or probably raise your hand. I know I did see one earlier, guys, and I want to ask you this just as we're coming up on the hour here. Someone had asked, just trying to find this question someone asked earlier about where would they find these resources to really help them. It says, where do I see the various requirements and standards for each export market? And they're actually in Jamaica. So shout out to the folks on the island, Jamaican folks. This is a question, and can you guys answer any of you would like to answer that? Where do you find, or where do you see the requirements and the standards for each export market? I suppose you can start with maybe the US. Like, where do you find these things? Sydney?
Yeah, so you can go on to the government website. So every state has export support within the US, and they have funding for that support. So I would say, depending on which state you're looking at initially, just choose one online. I'll just mention Virginia because that's where I am. You can go online and there's trade experts that will be able to support you. So you could even start at the SBDC, Small Business Development Center. And from there, you'll be able to find resources that speak to international trade. And from there, if it's not Virginia, they're readily accessible. I found in Kansas, Virginia, Delaware. So if you have questions or if it's the wrong point of contact, they will guide you to the correct point of contact. So from that perspective, I know. But if you need further details, I'm not a trade expert. I can refer you to people who would be able to help you more directly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for answering that. And then, if I may add, and if you, Sydney, if you can put it in the chat, that would probably be helpful for some folks who would probably like to find it. So a couple of resources from our side. If you're actually in the US and you're looking to then go international, there are a few places, the SBA. So if you go to sba.gov, there's a whole ton of resources there, especially on the export side. The Exim Bank, they are in your local city, like here in Georgia, the Georgia Department of Economic Development. If you're outside the US, looking to actually come in, these places can also be helpful. But places like Census, the US Census has got an amazing platform that give you perspective on different geographic space. You're interested in Atlanta, the US Census can give you the demographic about Atlanta market, where in Atlanta might be suitable for a specific product that you may have, etc. So lean into those resources. Guys, I know the hour has come. The power continues. We could go on and on for hours, but you are going to have to be responsible to take that conversation into the rest of your day, into the rest of your week towards your success. What are your advice? If we could just wrap this up with advice from both of you on what's the thing that you say to folks who are here and like, man, where do I go next? What do I do now? I've got all this information. What's the practical thing that I need to then do? Cos will come to you. And while you're doing that, how do people reach out to you? Do you have your stuff in the chat? Can people kind of connect with you? We'll start with you, Cos.
Right. Thank you. So very quickly, be informed. That's number one, and be agile. The world is very fluid. It's gonna continue being fluid. So you need to be agile. You need to be able to adapt.
Fantastic, fantastic. Sydney?
I was waiting for him to say where people can find him.
Yeah,
No,
well,
I
I'm
would.
sure you'll probably put that in the chat, but go ahead.
Oh,
Yes,
he will.
I've
Okay. You did? Okay. No, I would say realizing that you're not alone in this space and that there are networks and associations like GOC to help guide you on that journey. So I would say to try and do this by yourself would be a loss to you, a loss in your investment, loss in your time. So that's what I would end with. Finding networks and associations to support you along the way, and consultants like myself or Tina or Cos. Yeah, don't work in a silo. That's what I'll leave you with. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I will also put it in the chat. And I think, yeah, Rise Enterprise Group, Purposely Rise, supporting businesses looking to enter the US market and beyond. So thank you for having us here.
Fantastic. Guys, the hour has come. We're 1 minute over, but the power continues. It's what you actually do with it. Do something good with it. Do something good with it. Set some goals. Do some activities that's going to help you to get to where you need to go. Next week on the Power Hour, we're going to be focusing on negotiation and cultural competencies. Make sure if you're interested in that, it's easy thinking about doing business internationally, but when you walk in there and don't know what to say, how to say, you're running into different cultural nuances. Next week, we're going to uncover and unpack, like, how do you actually deal with that as you seek to expand. Thank you so much, everybody, for jumping in. We will definitely see you next week, same time, same place. Thank you, Cos. Thank you, Sydney. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.